And we're just going to get coffee. We're starting with baby steps. Everything seems to be going okay, but first drive in a while, so you never know. All right, well, we made it to coffee and we made it to a gas station. So all's well so far, the first drive. This is from our friends at ROWE Oil. Huge day. Oh, baby. Nice. Well, that one's not empty.
No.
It's definitely not empty. This here is our heavy duty diesel 1540. Straight from Germany. Yeah. All right, guys, so we're gonna take a look at what Rova sent us over. This box here, I think, is just merchandise. Oh yeah, sunglasses, lots of lanyards, promo gear, jackets. All right, so got a lot of the products unpackaged. Super stoked to be running a lot of these products from Rova Motor Oil, starting with their 530, but most importantly, we are still running their 2050 in all of the old cars, all the air-cooled cars, any of the 1980s or 90s German cars I've had, the E23, the 924S Porsche, all those cars run their 2050. Indeed, Rova makes the 2050 branded for Porsche as well. This here is an awesome product, one of my favorite 2050s, and it comes in this cool vintage tin. Makes you feel just as vintage as the cars you are putting them in. Also running Rova's gear oil, this 7590 for GL4, GL5 applications. Actually about to put 3 quarts of this in the 1000 SP, since in the last episode you saw that we drained the gearbox so we could do the axle seals. So I'm glad I waited, because this is going right in it. And Rova even makes brake fluid. So we have a case of their .4, so we can run it in all of the cars here, including the vintage cars. And coolant. Although most of the cars here in the fleet are air-cooled, there are some water-cooled cars, including the OBS and my daily driver, Kayla's 944. We will be running their Evo antifreeze coolant, but they do make a wide range of coolants as well. And as I already mentioned, they sent a 55-gallon drum of their heavy-duty 1540, which will run in the OBS with the 7.3 Power Stroke, in the 46 Clipper bus, as well as the 5-window cab over, which both will have 6PT 12-valve Cummins in them. We'll run their 1540 in those as well. We've gotten a lot done off camera in the last few days. So it was awesome to pull the 700 out and actually drive one of my old cars, you know, one that's turnkey. So we've got the Rova stuff set up over here for right now, in case you guys were wondering where I've been fitting all this stuff. Okay, so what I'm trying to accomplish and ultimately get done in this episode is work on the tube chassis, for lack of a better term, that I've built inside the Auto Union 1000 SP body to mount it to the Beetle pan, right? Once we cut everything out underneath this body, once everything got cut out, the car was no longer structurally sound to itself. So I've built this frame inside the body, right? Well, now that we've had the car rolling and steering and traveling on a trailer and stuff, I've found some areas of concern or areas that I still need to and want to address for the framework. And that is basically building down, right? I've only gone up But from these mounts, we've got a body mount here and a body mount here. I've gone up and over with my tube chassis or my tube work. I haven't gone down this way, and I think I need to, because all of this here, this whole back part of the car is not mounted to the beetle pan. So what I want to do, I've got a piece of 11 gauge, just about 1/8 inch wall, 1 inch square with a 90-degree bend in it. I had this laying around. What I want to do is work on a lower mounting system, and it's going to get real close to the motor. But I'm going to bring a bar that's heavily gusseted up front there and bring it back and drop it down to a landing down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this 10-footer 1 inch square I have on the rack. That's 11 gauge. That's got a real thick wall. I think these here are 14 gauge. I've got a 12 foot and another 10 foot and 14. We're gonna take this 11 gauge over to my father's shop. But first I'm gonna cut it in half. We need to put 2 90-degree bends in it, and I don't have my tubing bender mounted to the floor yet. And since I'm trying to keep moving today, we're just gonna run over to his shop, and he's got a hydraulic bender, and we'll just bend 2 90s. I'll come back here, cut where I need to, and we'll start installing in the car. But I haven't done that yet. And I don't have a hydraulic arm on this, so I do have to mount it to the floor since it's still a manual bender. So I'm taking some final measurements just so I know how much I need for length on the top and how much I need for length on the drop, so we don't accidentally bend too short. So I'll pull that 10-foot stick off the rack now. We'll cut it so we know where to put our bends. We'll head over to my dad's shop. All right, well, we made it over to my dad's shop, and we're going to use probably one of the oldest tools you have in the shop, aside from your hand tools. Is this probably the oldest
in the shop?
Mechanized tool that you've got in here?
I bought that when I moved into this shop. I built this shop in 82, so I probably bought this 84.
Oh, okay. So a year before I was born,
Yeah.
relatively. So it's been here longer than I've been alive, which makes it seem like forever. But this was arguably the first pipe bender. One of the first. Yeah, because I know Budget Tire had one. No, Salta Tire had one. So this was one of the first pipe benders in the Lakes Region, New Hampshire area. Like, no one was doing custom exhaust work back in the late 70s, early 80s. And my dad saw a need for it and bought this, 84, a long time ago. So this thing has done so many custom exhaust systems on so many different vehicles, many of which were brand new trucks at Meredith Ford that left the lot across the street to your shop.
Yeah. I had some brand new stuff in here. Got the systems cut right off.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So we're gonna use this today. It does have one square die, and this will work. I think we're trying to figure out, we think this is a 3.5 inch centerline radius. It does look a little smaller, tighter than mine. Mine's a 4 inch. We'll still be able to use that.
Gonna go a little more.
A little bit more, yeah. Looks good from here.
I didn't look for it. See what the seam was on that.
It's crazy to think what we did before hydraulics. smidge, yeah. Yeah. So this second one that we bent has a really nice bend in it. And the first one, for some reason, is not smooth. And I thought maybe it was just because it's an 11 gauge, 1 inch square that's compression bent at 90 degrees with a 3.5 inch radius, right? You figured all those variables may have caused that to not be super smooth. But we decided to put the seam of the square stock on the side on this second cut, and we got a super smooth bend. So since this is all I had for 1 inch square 11 gauge, my dad, oddly enough, down here in the corner had an old piece of 12-foot stick of 11 gauge 1 inch squares. One more little tug maybe. Yeah, looks good to me. Yeah, that was definitely the ticket. It's crazy to see like we're putting that seam would do.
Yeah, yeah, because it's on the inside, right? It's on the inside.
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's on the inside, so, and that's where it's been welded, and it's the hardest
Yep.
part, so it didn't go very well.
Yeah, and to be honest, didn't even look at that before we did the bend. Well, yeah, glad you had an extra piece laying around. So before I go, we'll get a quick update on his Corvair. But yeah, so this is S10 frame, small block Chevy up front. He's done tubular arms up front and gonna do coilovers in the rear ultimately. It's just leaf spring and blocked right now. But firewalls, and you've done a ton of sheet metal work already.
Crazy to think this is where the gas tank used to sit.
Yep.
I want to keep the Power Glide
okay.
training behind this so I can use that that dash shifter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be enough. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, V8 in front of a Corvair is gonna be pretty sweet. And he's utilized a lot of the S10 flooring, which has saved a ton of work. He's made floors up front to match his firewall, but a lot of this tunnel work was already there.
Well, I had to section it. I sectioned it and moved it forward.
Right, yeah. And burnout. Drop it down into one.
Oh. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Where it was sitting, and it was at the opening of his junkyard. So when you drove in, that was like the first car you saw. So a lot of people in our area know the car. Like, that was in Don's yard.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys are going to see some content on these two cars here pretty soon on the channel. You may remember I picked this four-door late model Corvair up while I was still living in Tennessee. This is originally a Texas car and was living in Georgia, so it is bone dry. Take some time to design in CAD the landing plate for these lateral bars that we're going to create in the frame. So just kind of whip together this 6-inch by 7-inch plate that I just cut out of cardboard. And it looks something like this. I don't know if this is what I'm ultimately going to use. Let's go to the car real quick and we'll take a look at what this might look like. It might take up too much space. So this will ultimately sit right here. It's kind of big, but I kind of want it big because I want to gusset under it as well so it's real strong. I don't know, that might be overkill. All right, version 2, hot off the press. All right, well, I went back to the computer and laser cut some gussets out of cardboard, and these are 5.5 inches long 1 inch tall to an 1/8 inch tall. And what I think I want to do with these is reinforce this plate. If we're gonna go with a plate that big, I'm thinking of putting a gusset on each end. Since the plate is sitting on a piece of 1 inch square, I think I can fit, if I can film this, I think I can fit a gusset right there. The only other thing I want to keep in mind is the tin work, the engine cover, cylinder head cover, tin work. When this motor comes out, it's got to slide off the input shaft and then go down. So I don't want that plate to be in the way to where this tin work hits that. So let's load some programs in the computer that runs the CNC table and maybe start cutting. I've got 3/16 plate on the table right now, and I think that's what I'm going to make the gussets out of. So let's cut the gussets first, and then we'll load some 1/4 inch thick sheet onto the table, and then we'll cut our actual plates. All right, I think we're just about ready to start cutting some parts. 1000 SP rear frame landing plate gussets. All right, so we're gonna do 2 at a time. Well, there's our first 2 gussets. Nice. All right, well, I got all of the gussets cut. Trying to figure out where my landing plate is gonna go before I cut it, because I don't know if I need to make any changes to the CAD file. But before I do that, we're going to match our other lateral bar to this one. Since I've cut them both for the length off of the rear body mount upright, but I have not cut them for their stand-up height. All right, so I had some old strut towers that I cut out back a while ago. I think these are from my Toyota Century when I was pre-proing the custom air suspension and that. But these were something I had that were rigid that I could just vice grip to my tube to kind of mock these up. So I've got magnets holding them up front, and I've got these plates supporting them at the back. And what this is allowing me to do before I plasma cut my plates out is it's allowing me to make sure everything's gonna be square and know where everything's gonna land in the engine bay. So I've pulled measurements off the inside of my fenders to the uprights on both sides, inside of the fender to the uprights, and also measured the distance between the 2 body mount uprights, and then again here to here to ensure that they're staying true to each other as they come back. Yeah, we're locked in. I've got my measurements noted, and now I think we're going to just start cutting those plates out. I know it might look a little busy with those bars in there, but I need to do something to help support this back end, and this 11 gauge tube, even in this location, will help do that. I don't want to go down underneath. I've looked in every possible scenario how to go underneath. I don't want to encroach on my shock mounts. I don't want to encroach on my back cylinder J-pipe exhaust tubes. I don't want to encroach on my valve cover being able to come off. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. Oh, we don't have enough. Oh, wait, maybe we do. All right, well, I haven't had my 1/4 inch sheet out in a while, and I forgot how much I've used in it. We can get 1 out of that corner. Oh yeah, easy. Nice. that. Okay, so before we cut a second plate and potentially waste some 1/4-inch steel that we don't have in stock, I wanted to mock it up with the vice grip, and I am really stoked on it. I think that's gonna work well. I've already kind of, guesstimated that where this is, the engines can still come out. I verified that if I go from the Solexes to a Weber or something, we're not going to encroach on this. Indeed, the closest we're getting to this is underneath, and it's the fuel shutoff solenoid, which we can do away with in aftermarket carburetors. The tin work I can always modify, since that tin work is specifically designed for a Type 3. All right, we're working on getting everything level. Trying to get everything set up there. And we are leveled out. Okay, so after much measuring, many measuring, we are ready to tack the plates in. We're finally there. Well guys, it is a doors open kind of afternoon here. We still have a little bit of snow left. Crazy, but so stoked spring is here. But yeah, I've been working with the doors open the last couple hours. I actually had to keep this one closed because of how bright and hot the sun was. And a motorcycle just went up the hill. It's a weekday, but everyone's out with their motorcycles because it is in the 60s in March. I've got our uprights welded in just on two sides. Don't judge me too hard on those. I'm literally welding between the exhaust pipes with not much range of motion. You know, down was too steep. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave these welded on two sides, on both sides here, and wait till I have the motor out or the body off the pan the next time to finish weld everything up. So I'm gonna weld everything up enough to where it'll stay put and it'll hold the car together. But next time the body comes off, we'll be able to really weld all this stuff up because I'll have access to all angles of the stuff we're trying to weld in. But I also welded in up front. Yep. So I got my bars welded in here and on the other side, and same with over there. And I'm also going to get a measurement on a gusset right here. I might even have a 2 or 3 inch gusset designs saved already. I need to just cut a whole bunch of them so I can just use them. And then I'm gonna put an upright right here, right where this crossbar comes over and these two parallel together. I'm gonna put an upright right there as well. All right, well, I just whipped together a quick 2.5 inch gusset. We're 2.5 tall, 2.5 stretch, with a radius in between, with an 1/8 of an inch step. So we will be looking like that. All right, so I welded in the gussets underneath our plates where our lateral bars drop down to. So I'll get those welded in. Yeah, I just decided to do 2 gussets. Yeah, like I said, more than enough. I also got these gussets in up front. Right up in there, our 2.5 inch gussets. I can't really fit the camera in. So we got that one in, and obviously this one on this side. This one, sometimes you gotta admit your ugliness. The top weld is okay, but my vertical weld, sometimes when you're just not comfortable or just it doesn't work. I don't understand. Like, I've been welding a long time, and I feel like I get into these slumps where I just can't get anything right. So I made 2 passes over my first one till I was convinced I had good penetration, and it didn't look like someone who was blind who'd never welded before made that pass. So anyway, we've got our welding done for now. I need to end this episode here because I need to get this car put back together and in my trailer, because we leave for the LZ World Tour New Jersey tomorrow morning at like 4:30 in the morning. And it's afternoon now, so I have to hurry. So I'm gonna pull this thing down. We'll take one last look at everything that we've done, and we'll start to button this thing up. All right, so in the process of getting the wheels back on, and obviously that involves hooking the shocks, the bags, and everything else back up in the rear. But I almost forgot, and don't ever do this, I almost forgot that we had drained the trans fluid, the gear oil out of that thing. So now that we're stocked up with our Rova products, we're gonna put their 7590 in this thing. Should take about 3 quarts. All right, so I was setting up my siphon to pump the gear oil up into the transmission, and I got a closer look at the cap. Pull this up, tighten it, and twist the very top off. I never even noticed that till right now. That is amazing. And I don't know if this is the only company that does this or not, but Rova just made this job so much easier. All right, guys, we've got gear oil in the gearbox. We've got the rear wheels on, obviously. We've got everything back together. She's down on the ground. And I think that is where we will leave it off for this episode. It's a little bit different looking of an engine bay now with our new lateral bars that come out. And the real question will be, how easily can we pull that motor out with those plates there? I think we've got enough room. I can modify these tins, as I mentioned before, if I have to. Since those are Type 3 engine bay specific, we can always alter those if we have to. You'll notice I didn't plug weld the plates yet. I'm gonna do those after we get back from the LZ World Tour this weekend. We just have so much to do. I'm running out of daylight as it is. I'm gonna be up all night trying to get this thing ready to go, packed, loaded, all the tools in the truck. Just for contingency issues. But I feel a little bit better about building more bracing on this back half. I think once we start to build sheet metal and wheel tubs, I think it's really gonna hold the car together much more. We'll finally get the outer skin reattached to the inner skin, which used to be the wheel tubs, which are now gone because clearly we needed the space. So for now, that's another big checklist ticked off the list. The gussets inside. I do still plan on putting some vertical bars here, like I mentioned before. I'll just do that at some other time. It'll be easier for me to finish weld everything up once the body comes off again, which is inevitable. It's gonna be off a couple more times. But every time it comes off, I try to get as much done as possible because it's a chore getting everything lined back up again. So that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. I'm really stoked on the progress of the car. Slow though it may be, we will drive this car yet. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've got a lot to do to get ready for this weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.